It's the My Michelle Live podcast.
My Michelle Live, entertainment review. Roll out the red carpet. Here's Michelle.
Well, welcome to Entertainment Review. I am Michelle of My Michelle Live. Thank you for making us part of your day. I am really excited, as I often am. We talk about movies, we talk about music, and today we're also going to talk about something that I love in movies. I love me a good sports film. Love it. They're so inspirational. And we do the Sports Time Out show on Fridays. Yet, I've always said sports is like an analogy for life, when you can see that struggle, when you can take the wins and you can take the losses. It's fabulous. But when you have a good sports film, have I said before, Remember the Titans is like one of my absolute favorites. Why is that? Well, it's a true story and it's so inspirational, but there is a new one that is coming around the corner that I cannot wait to tell you about. It's a story that was almost lost to history. It was more than a century ago. It happened in Texas, where a group of orphans from a tiny school, little guys, decided, because of a man who came to town and started coaching at their school. They started playing football. And what happened next? Well, it's worthy of a spectacular film. And we are talking to the director of 12 Mighty Orphans, Ty Roberts. Thanks for coming on today, Ty.
Well, my pleasure, Michelle. Thank you for your enthusiasm. We're super excited too after a few long years, especially 2020.
Oh gosh.
There. Yeah.
Forgive me. I didn't even think about that. Now, this is a great story that we're going to talk about and get our audience excited about. But think about that as you're listening today. You've got this great story. You've got some beautiful actors that are all part of this. Okay, that's great. Then 2020 hits and you're going, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? That had to be nuts.
It was, we were in post-production. We filmed at the end of 2019 and went into post and had a really good, couple of months there. And then the pandemic hit and we sort of had to, divide and conquer and work remotely. It just made everything so much more difficult. But, it really hits the parallels of the story, which takes place at the end of the Great Depression. And, America was just limping along and really trying to rise up from the ashes there. And, in Texas, rural Texas was hit so hard because of the Dust Bowl as well. And there was just an all-time high of kids who needed help and were home, didn't have homes and had either lost their parents or their parents had to move on to work. And so, the Masonic Orphanage in Fort Worth, Texas was a sanctuary for these kids. And the lead character, Rusty Russell, kind of drops an all-time, spectacular job at a high school here in Texas, in Temple, Texas, that had all the facilities and kids and everything you needed to be a winning team and whatnot, and sort of gave that up to go to the orphanage to start their football program. And in reality, it was the late 20s. In our film, it takes place in 1938.
And this film is so inspirational. It's a true story about how they learned to use their strengths. They were smaller. They didn't even have a football when they started this football program. But learning how to use your strengths and to make the most of what you have, what a message in a time where people are feeling lost, particularly young people in America.
Oh, you bet. I mean, that's sort of the basis of this is, to be able to show in a story that was based on true events that, the heart will triumph the biggest adversities. And, as cliche as it can be at times, Rusty was such a wonderful character. He was very charismatic and forthright and just really got into the hearts of the kids to push them and to show them what they can become. And, it was really important for me as a, father with young kids to address, this again, to allow these kids to have a dream and to guide them towards, greatness and to perhaps their talents. It's what it's all about. And that's what Rusty was able to do. He cobbled together a team of 12 kids, and, they were scrawny and small and, underweighed other teams by 40 pounds a man. And, really just couldn't compete nose to nose with these guys. And so Rusty got very innovative. He was a really brilliant guy, and, really kind of helped develop the passing game on a very deep level with the invention of the, early spread offense and the wing tee and things that he sort of helped develop as a necessity to compete with the bigger teams. And so he ultimately found the talent in each of the boys and helped them realize that talent, and that inspiration and that motivation carried them on through their lives, and they all went on to do really interesting things. And we had one guy, Miller Mosley, who went to work on the Manhattan Project
Wow.
during the war, and 2 NFL football players came out of the team, and
Can you
it was
believe
just
that?
really it was really incredible. It just goes to show you, as adults in this world, how important our mentorship is to the kids,
Come
even if
on,
it's
yeah.
free. But Rusty dedicated his life to it, and really impacted the lives of so many kids. And I think that's worthy of a film.
It is worthy of a film. It's worthy of this story, and it's worthy of our watch. Think about this. Rusty seemed to be a really brilliant guy. Great. He could have really made a name for himself in his time, but been completely lost to history. Now, his story is timeless because he took his talent, his intellect, and he invested it not only in the next generation, but in an impossible situation. Man, what a story of inspiration. But here's what I want to know, because we're going to all see that played out on film. I want to know how Ty Roberts got his hands on this story, and how that developed, and how you said, "Oh, yeah, we're making this into a film."
I was originally scared. My producer, Houston Hill, approached me about the book and said, "What do you think about a football movie?" And I said, it frightens the heck out of me because, we've seen so many of them, and there's so many great ones. And there's also some that aren't so great. And, that's what you have to be careful about is looking at the tropes of the sports genre. They all share similar lines, and, the coach that comes in to, overtake a program and, bring an underdog team up from the ashes. And, there's always a star player who's a little hard nut to crack, and I feel like that we do have those elements, but everything else around that, dramatically speaking, is so rich. And the fact that it's real, I think, really set us apart and allowed us to sort of bring in a much more dramatic storyline that went beyond just football. And, Lane Garrison, my co-writer, and I, our whole mantra was, this can't be just a football movie. This has to be about the boys and Rusty and his background and his connection. It's him being an orphan. He left his big high school program to give back. Why? Mm-hmm. Because he had experienced the same thing that these orphans experienced, and was a survivor and a World War I veteran, and lost his eyesight at one point to go on to be an All-American at Mary Hardin Baylor and play football. And just, he overcame so much. He felt in his heart of hearts that, he had to share those experiences to some degree to kids who are also suffering and having a hard time in their lives. So, just a really selfless act on his part. And Juanita Russell, his wife, who was also a teacher, and went on to urge young women to actually go to college and, think beyond the confines of, rural America at that time.
Yeah.
So just both really great people that made big changes in their lives. And, I just really was motivated by that. And, my wife is in the education world and has a couple of schools, and
Ah.
we're very ingrained in, how we affect children's life and give them the tools they need to sort of expand and grow and face the world and pursue their own dreams.
So you keyed into those stories, and I think that shows, and that's probably why this will be more than a sports film. It's the stories. Everyday people really do have extraordinary stories. We don't need to put a cape on them or give them demigod-like characters in order to see that there are everyday heroes. And maybe in this time, Ty, where the world has turned upside down, this is the time that maybe we don't need thunder from the stars and someone flying in with superhero strength. Maybe we just need those everyday heroes that we can relate to. So I almost feel like this film is for such a time as this.
I think it couldn't have come in a better time. I mean, obviously, we had no clue we would face a global pandemic, and all the difficulties that the last year has been. And what a better time for a grounded film just about normal folks, and
Going through another
up.
difficult time.
Yeah, I mean, of course, they're coming out of the Great Depression, and the Mighty Mites inspired a nation to sort of lift their own lives up and pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get back to work and really keep a positive focus and persevere, and just be resilient in the face of adversary, and just really do the best you can on a personal level and just stay positive and hopeful, and we will come through it in the end. And I think we're needing that right now. We need those reminders,
boy,
just to keep at it, and we're going to be okay. And we're going to, if we stick together, we're stronger and have more capabilities than, we often realize. So I think it's really important to reiterate these messages during this time. And as we break out into normal life, hopefully again very soon, and I feel like we're already there to some degree, to have this film come out right now, Father's Day weekend across the nation.
Yeah.
Take your old man and get back into cinemas, because the cinemas need us too. They've really endured a lot of hardship, and there's nothing more building and communal than going to a movie with a bunch of strangers and coming out laughing and hopefully a little chipper and more upbeat than you were before you went in, and that's what this whole magic is all about, going to the movies. So we appreciate everyone supporting it. That's for sure.
Oh, well, just talking with you, it's like getting an insight into the passion and the spirit of the film. I can see that coming through in your words, and it's really exciting. And you can feel the people listening going, "Oh wow, I can't wait." You have some actors that people have already loved in many films: Robert Duvall, Luke Wilson, Martin Sheen. Just a really power-packed cast. That must have been fun to work with.
They were amazing. They all made me look real good. I'll tell you that.
I gotta love that as a director. Huh?
Oh, I'll tell you what.
Come on.
Martin Sheen and Luke Wilson on set were like a comedy troupe to a degree. It was really, really helped set the tone to a very pleasant shoot. And working with Bobby Duvall is a dream come true. And Vanessa Shaw was such a dear, wonderful woman to come in and play this role. And Wayne Knight was amazing. Got to work with Ron White as well. Just all such genuine folks that put their heart and soul into this. And I certainly couldn't have done this without them. And just am so grateful that we were able to capture Rusty Russell and the folks of Fort Worth in such a charming and endearing way. And we even got old Treat Williams to come in and play an iconic figure of Amon Carter. And he just was such a
glorious,
pleasant guy to deal with, and became a good friend and just a wonderful person. So
well, hey, Michelle, we've got to bounce to our next interview.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Ty, for being with us today. We're looking forward to 12 Mighty Orphans, and we'll catch you in your next project.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Take care.
Take care.
You too.